The rumor is that either Julian has been indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia, or that a grand jury has been impaneled in the Eastern District of Virginia. The reason why this would be done in the Eastern District rather than in Washington, D.C., or in any other district in the country is that the Eastern District of Virginia is known as the espionage court. No national security defendant has ever won a case there, ever. I was tried there. Ed Snowden was charged there. Jeffrey Sterling was charged there. We've all had our cases in the Eastern District of Virginia. There's one judge in particular, Judge Leonie Brinkema, who reserves all of these cases for herself. So she's been the judge for all of us, and we were all found guilty. Beyond that, she made it literally impossible to mount a defense, because every time we would motion the court to allow us to declassify information necessary to defend ourselves, she denied the motion. She denied 72 of my motions and approved 0. We were walking out of the courtroom one day, and I said to my attorney, "What just happened?" And my attorney said, "We just lost the case. That's what happened." Well, Julian is looking at the same kind of outcome. If he's forced out of that embassy and extradited to the United States, he cannot get a fair trial. It's impossible, because the deck is stacked, and everybody knows what's going to happen if he comes back to the Eastern District of Virginia. This is the same advice I gave Ed Snowden. Don't come home, because you can't get a fair trial here. Julian doesn't have the choice. And that's what frightens me even more.
Let me go to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Last year, just after he became CIA director, in Pompeo's first major address, he blasted WikiLeaks.
It's time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is: a non-state hostile intelligence service, often abetted by state actors like Russia. In reality, they champion nothing but their own celebrity. Their currency is clickbait. Their moral compass non-existent. Their mission, personal self-aggrandizement through destruction of Western values.
So that was Pompeo. Of course, this certainly went against what his boss, President Trump, had said. I believe in the campaign in a month or two, he raised WikiLeaks, praised WikiLeaks well over 100 times. Let's go to one of those moments.
This just came out. This just came out. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks.
There you go. Jennifer Robinson, if you could talk about Pompeo and Trump.
Well, Pompeo's statements as the head of the CIA demonstrate the fervour within the CIA, and certainly to be seeking WikiLeaks prosecution. But to say that receiving and publishing information in the public interest is an attack on Western values is frankly wrong, and a dangerous statement to be coming from the head of the CIA and someone who's been very senior in the Trump administration. This cuts at the heart of constitutional protections for free speech. It is protected under the US Constitution to receive and publish information that's in the public interest, even classified information, and that any publisher, including WikiLeaks, could be called a hostile non-state intelligence agency when media organizations around the world all the time, including the New York Times, including the Washington Post, receive classified information and publish it when it's in the public interest. To say that that is an attack on Western values is a very dangerous statement from the head of the CIA that ought to be investigated. Speaking to Trump's statements during the election, I think it's important to note that WikiLeaks has been doing the same thing that it's always been doing, which is, again, receiving and publishing information in the public interest. If we look back to 2010, when WikiLeaks was publishing material, the Cablegate material, the diplomatic cables, the Iraq and Afghanistan war logs, demonstrating human rights abuse and corruption by the American government around the world. At that time, WikiLeaks was lauded by the progressive left-wing press and indeed by the liberal establishment. On Fox News, people like Sarah Palin were calling for him to be killed by drone strike. Fast forward many years later, and you see that the politics of any publication cuts in different ways, but the principle of what they do remains the same, which is to publish information which they verify to be correct and be in the public interest. That's what WikiLeaks does, and that the United States government is now taking such an aggressive approach towards prosecuting and potentially extraditing a publisher for doing precisely that raises serious concerns about US press freedom for all publishers and all journalists in the United States.